Hey, leaders. So, here are 5 things I recommend new lieutenants preparing right now for their first duty station. Number one, contacting your sponsor. If you're not familiar with this process, you can do this by logging on to a website called ACT or ACT. Click on the sponsorship tab, complete the required sections so that your sponsor can reach out to you and assist you with housing, answer questions that you may have about the area itself or daycare, schools, if you have children. A good sponsor will be your eyes and ears until you get to the unit. Over communicate with your sponsor because if anything changes to your flight, if anything changes to your orders, if they're amended in any way, your sponsor can advocate on your behalf. A question that I get asked a lot: what uniform should I have prepared? I feel like this is a no brainer. Have all of them prepared, have all of them squared away, especially if you're traveling by flight or if you're going OCONUS again. Have all of your uniforms on your carry on. Quick story time. I had a friend of mine. She got stationed to the unit. She had all of her uniforms, they were squared away, but they were in her luggage. And guess what? Yep, you guessed it. Her luggage was lost. However, she still had to report. So she came without any PTs, duty uniform. And oh, by the way, the week that she reported, we had a dining in ceremony that required us to wear our dress uniforms. So please include all of your uniforms. Now, this is not the end of the world. Mistakes happen, right? No one is going to treat you unfairly or charge this to your character if something like this happens. But just always remember and keep in mind that you and I are always being assessed as leaders. And maybe, just maybe, your bosses look at this and maybe that's an indication or their first impression that maybe this leader doesn't prepare themselves well. So, how well are they going to prepare their platoons? Maybe we should hold on to them for a while. Again, there are so many bigger fish to fry than this right here, but just always remember that you're being assessed. Now, my friend, she took her platoon, no harm, no foul, right? But all leaders are different. So please prepare yourself well because that may be the first impression that your bosses have of you. And number three, have your I Love Me book prepared. I believe every leader needs an I Love Me book. I'll take it a step further. Everyone needs an I Love Me book. An I Love Me book is your personal analog database. Every important piece of paperwork goes in your I Love Me book. Have multiple copies of your orders. I like to say at least 15 because during in processing, every station and section will likely ask for a copy of your orders, your leave forms. So have multiple copies of those as well. Bottom line, your I Love Me book is your job. It's your job to keep up with all of the important documents throughout your career in the military. That said, here's a quick pro tip from an S1. Ensure that your S1 creates a personal file for you. This should be a part of the S1 in processing procedure for you. But if not, ensure that every piece of document, if it doesn't violate HIPAA or it doesn't have any sensitive information in it, is put inside of your personal file that your S1 keeps during your tenure or your tour at the unit. And then they keep it for 2 to 3 years after you depart as well. That said, there's also a digital file that is kept on your behalf, and it is in a system called iPerms. Now, I will not deep dive iPerms, but essentially that's the baseline of it. Any important pieces of paperwork that you want on your record, ensure it gets inputted and submitted into your iPerms. You don't want to be that soldier that you don't have the proper documentation and then you go into your S1, which receive like almost 5 times a day at minimum. A soldier comes in and they say, "Hey, I received this award, but it is not reflecting on my STP." All right. You want to be able to hand over those analog copies and say, "Hey, here are the orders that says that I graduated airborne school, or here are my award orders. And your S1 can easily file that for you, get it put in your iPerms record, and they can fight for you. And number four, prepare to meet your bosses. Now, when I say prepare to meet your bosses, I'm just talking about the folks that are going to be rating you and senior rating you. So, for example, if you're a platoon leader, your rater is likely going to be your company commander, and your senior rater is likely going to be your battalion commander. So, also be prepared to have a major rate you if you're going to spend time in the S3 shop prior to taking a platoon. So, here's what I want you to do. I want you to find out who manages your commander's calendar. That's going to be the person that can help you prepare for this initial meeting. In our battalion, that person is me. I manage my commander's calendar. So the way that I help lieutenants, brand new lieutenants, prepare for that initial meeting is I provide them with the baseball card template. Now, this baseball card template, it has a picture that best represents the leader, positions that they want to hold, personal achievements, OERs, or whatever report you received. This baseball card is used to preheat the commander prior to your session with him or her. I also like to prepare them for the venue in which they will have this session. In our case, they will have this meeting during PT. So I prepare them to go for a long run. Make sure you have your uniforms, be here at this time, and be prepared to go on a run, right? And I'll also provide them with the battalion commander's philosophy so they can use that as a read ahead so that they can see what is important to the boss. Because if it's important to the boss, then it should also be important to you. That said, if you yourself don't have your own leadership philosophy, start working on that now. Not saying that it is a requirement, not saying that your commander is going to ask for it, but I think it's a good practice for leaders to figure out their leadership styles and have a working Word document so that you can edit this as your leadership style and philosophy evolves. This can also be used when you're counseling your NCOs. So I started mine when I was a second lieutenant in BOLIC, and I didn't have to use it until I became a staff primary and I had NCOs under me, and I was using that for our initial counselings. So you never know when you're going to need it. But when I became a staff primary as a battalion S1 OIC, I felt prepared. Therefore, I didn't have to rush. All right, the last one. I feel like this is telegraphed a little bit, and you all saw this one coming, but get on your boss's schedule. Again, if your S1 runs your commander's calendar, ensure you get on your commander's schedule sooner rather than later. Ask questions. Have 3 questions locked and loaded, right? 3 smart questions. Remember, you're building a relationship with your senior rater. And just like any good relationship, communication goes both ways. So don't be afraid to ask smart questions to your boss, or if you need clarity or if you need additional guidance, ask. All right. Don't be afraid. And maybe there are questions that you don't necessarily want to ask your new boss, or questions that you shouldn't ask your new boss. That's fine as well. Most of what you're going into is unfamiliar to you, and asking the right questions to the right people will help you build allies. And building allies is important in your new job. It's a benefit that will help you be able to get your footing up under you. So find some knowledgeable people that you trust, called allies, that can help you see around the corners before you get there so you don't have to make all the mistakes yourself. So recap. Number one, contact your sponsor ahead of time. Number two, have squared away uniforms on you. Number three, have your I Love Me book prepared. Number four, prepare to meet your boss. And number five, get on your boss's schedule. So this is not an exhaustive list, but these are things that I have seen work, and hopefully they work for you as well. to integrate successfully and seamlessly to your new unit. So, leaders, always remember, stay confident and never stop leading. No matter how challenging it gets, always lead and stay confident. Subscribe to this channel for more content like this, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.